Hi everyone, it's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, and today we're going to be talking about defense mechanisms. Now, before you say to yourself, so what, it's just a reaction that I usually have when somebody really annoys me, or, if they hadn't done this, I wouldn't have reacted that way. I want you to understand that it's so important to me that you know that you're in control of your reactions. So rather than allow someone to push your buttons or to get you to react in a certain way that may not be from the high place of love, joy, and peace, I want you to get used to being in a state of peace and getting to choose the reaction that you offer, no matter what the other person may be offering to you. So that is how we're going to deal with defense mechanisms. And as always, my helpers have a wonderful idea of how you can handle being defensive and being on guard. But first, let's hear from them. Then let's examine in a little more detail everything they've shared with us. And then I want to hear from you. What are you reacting to that you would rather go into a high place and react from that place instead of the place where you're feeling just like it's a knee-jerk reaction? So, first, my guides. Dear ones, so many of you are defeated by your own behavior, by the defensive posturing that you allow to be your go-to behavior when you've become triggered by outside stimuli. This is not a peaceful or enjoyable way to live your life, and it requires from you the automatic adrenaline reaction of fight or flight, which can only end in you becoming exhausted to the point of weary surrender, which reinforces the concept that you can be victimized by anyone or anything outside yourself. Once you believe you can be a victim, it's only a short slide down the vibrational ladder until you become a victim and give up your sovereign right as a creator. So let's take a look at this. There are so many of you who are still saying, oh my gosh, be kind to victims. All right, so that's an interesting concept, and I am certainly not suggesting that you give in to being a victim in any way, shape, or form. But here's the thing that you need to understand. You have a choice. You have a choice to be your best at any given time. So here's what you need to do. When you don't understand that you have a choice or that you have power, you are absolutely a victim. But we are not here to stay uneducated or undereducated. We are here having these classes to learn so that we can act appropriately and be in control of our circumstances. And when you are doing that, you move out of victimhood. You cannot be a victim when you are educated and you know your alternatives. Then you are choosing to be a victim. When you don't know better, you are absolutely able to get taken advantage of. But I don't want you to stay in the place where you don't know better. I want you to stay in the place of victorious. So, back to what our guides are telling us. We want you to understand that everything that touches your life does so because of a choice you made. Yes, you are just that powerful, and wishing it away won't change that truth. So we want you to understand that it's your thoughts and emotions that are steering the ship in which you're sailing. No one is doing anything to you. Now, Once you really wrap your head around this, this is so, so, so important. I spent years and years of my life singing the song, "Look What They're Doing to Me." And I remained powerless, and my life was either stagnant or going downhill. It wasn't until I agreed to accept the responsibility for what I had created that my life was going to be able to change, or did change, and it will be the same for you. So I am not calling you out. I am calling you to a place of joy. Because since no one is doing anything to you, there is no one and nothing to defend against. Therefore, there's no need for defense mechanisms or defensive reactions. Everything that's coming at you first had to come from you. This is not somebody outside of you looking at you and saying, "I don't like you, whomever. So I'm going to make your life miserable." You began this whole scenario by believing that something was wrong with you or with your circumstances. And then it snowballed from there. So it came from you. The thing you're defending yourself from is a product of your own imagining and not a real source of threat. The things that you've carefully established boundaries from and reactions to are things that could not and do not exist without your personal interaction. So let's take a look at that. Let's assume that someone is saying to you, "Oh, you're so stupid." But you have a really strong self-image. You've been told throughout your life from various teachers and from your parents and perhaps even from your siblings or friends, acquaintances, that you are really, really smart. So the barb of "you're so stupid" has nowhere to land. You won't react to it, and it's simply going to dissolve. Now let's play another scenario. Perhaps you had a difficult time learning in school. Perhaps your teachers told you over and over again, "You're so stupid, you're never going to learn." Perhaps your parents backed that up and your friends made fun of you. If someone tells you you're stupid, that barb is going to have fertile ground where it can stick. It might grow some roots and stay there because you're willing to acknowledge that, yeah, that's true for me. And I am saying to you, that is not true. You came with all of the intelligence that you needed. Absolutely. You came with all of the gifts and the talents that you need. For certain. But you can be persuaded by other people if you're not certain and confident within your own self. If you haven't gone within and done the work to build yourself up, outside people can tell you lies and you can believe them and hurt yourself based on those lies. This means that you're defending yourself from yourself. So the defense mechanisms you've created that react to outside stimuli are just reacting to your imagination and not real or present dangers. Unless you're telling yourself you're stupid and you agree with that and you keep reinforcing it, there is nothing for that comment to bounce against. You will not have to defend against it. You might even find it humorous. But if you haven't done the inner work and you feel that perhaps you could not be as bright as you want to be, then that's going to find fertile soil and you will find yourself reacting defensively. But you're forgetting Everything had to come from you in the first place. So we need to remember, you're safe. You're safe all the time, and you're safe always. However, you can believe that you're in danger. You're just that powerful. And you can create circumstances that will make you believe this is true. So what do? Because knowing what we're capable of and not knowing how to fix it never really helps us. So the first thing you need to do is become present. When you're reacting defensively to anything, you're not reacting to what's happening, except for the very rare occasion when you are really in physical danger, and then reacting would be appropriate. But I want you to take a step back and look at all of your reactions and say to yourself honestly, of all the times that I reacted as though I was in danger, as though there was something really wrong that I needed to get all riled up about, how many times was it a real thing and how many times was it just made up? So, if you're reacting to something that happened in the past that ended up causing you emotional or physical pain, then you're not reacting to what's happening right now. You've established a dialogue in your mind that states, I was hurt by these kinds of statements, actions, or events before. I recognize this pattern and I refuse to be hurt again. So I'm going to react defensively. Get the jump on the other party because I'm nobody's fool and I'm not going to be hurt again. Then you give the silent command to yourself. Defense is up, and your body goes into hyperdrive as it attempts how to figure out how best to defend against the oncoming attack. Now, think what you've done to yourself in this little tiny space of time. Nothing is really happening to you. It's something that may or may not have happened in the past. You could have made up the past situation, just like you're reacting out of beyond what you need to the present situation. So nobody is doing anything to you, but you have managed to get all of your muscles tense and your stomach tied up in a knot, and you are taking a toll on your physical body, even though there is no threat that is imminent. It's just in your imagination. Your defense will vary between the fight response, which could be harsh words or physical violence. And remember, when we say those harsh words, we cannot take them back. They're out there. They can be forgiven, but they're out there. And it can be a problem. So, we want to be careful when we get into the feeling of fighting, those harsh words, that we are really modifying, really checking, how is this going to sound? Do I want to move forward with this? Or you can go to the flight response, which will vary between withdrawing as the turtle withdraws into its shell for protection, to physically removing yourself from the vicinity of the threat. Now, I have told you over and over again, and I will stand by this, that if you are in a position where you feel you can't say anything that you want to, or you're feeling overwhelmed and you can't make a good choice, you should take a break and go to the restroom. Give yourself a minute to do some deep breathing and to figure out what the response should be. But that's very different from just running away. Because whatever you choose, it will feel like the only thing you can do. You won't feel good about your choice. You're more likely to be terrified of your choice, but you'll perceive it to be the only logical solution that will protect you from the harm that's threatening your peace. So you don't view yourself as in charge. This is just a knee-jerk defense mechanism that comes automatically. So you're going to feel threatened because you don't feel in charge. This seems logical and even intelligent until you realize that nothing is happening to you. You're anticipating the pain by drawing on the past and jumping ahead to the future. If you had insisted that you be present in this moment, instead of looking back or leaping forward, you would see the impact of your actions. This is where discipline comes in. You must stop allowing yourself to be anywhere except this moment. Instead of relying on defense mechanisms to live your life, begin depending on being in the present moment to live your life. There is no better time than the present. It is the only way that you can make accurate judgments. If you're present in what's happening now, you'll be able to react appropriately. You won't be using the yardstick of the past to measure how you should react today or tomorrow. Instead, when you're fully present, you'll be consumed with gratitude for the blessings you possess. Presence and gratitude support each other because they both require awareness. When you're behind or ahead, you're not here mentally, and you cannot summon gratitude for the place you've left or at which you have not yet arrived. Let's really look at that for a moment. It's really difficult to be grateful, you can imagine, but it's sometimes difficult to summon sincere gratitude for things that have not yet happened. It is using your imagination. You don't know that it's actually going to happen, and so you may feel like you're sort of faking it. And if it's something that happened in the past, it's difficult to feel grateful because it's over. Well, that happened and that's great, but hey, what about now? Exactly. What about now? What about this moment, this exact time that you can occupy, which is the only time that you can occupy? What about this present moment? What can you find right in this space to be grateful for now? What's going right? And remember, gratitude is beyond powerful. So if you find that you're running a negative chain of events and it's unceasing, poor me, poor me, poor me, or why do bad things happen to me? Why do bad things happen to me? Why do bad things happen to me? Or any rendition of this, I want you to stop and take a minute and say, what can I be grateful for right now? Are you breathing? Are your eyes capable of sight? Is your heart beating? Sometimes we have to get that basic. When we have allowed ourselves to get consumed with negativity and to feel really badly, sometimes we have to get right down to the very basic core. Basic. My eyes are able to see. My ears are able to hear. I have a lot to be grateful for. Get used to being grateful. It changes your entire perspective and allows you to become so much more positive that then you begin attracting more things to be grateful for. You are not attracting things because you say, oh, I'm grateful, and you don't feel it. You're attracting things because you've gotten yourself off the negative tractor beam and onto the positive way of being, feeling, thinking, and acting. You're feeling good. you're really engaged in feeling good, and now you're attracting things to yourself that will enable you to feel even better. Law of attraction will never attract to you the opposite. So look no further than yourself. If you're up against some negative circumstances, it's because you are attracting them. Yes, it is. I can lay it at your feet. If that sounds harsh, I'm sorry, but it's true. It's your fault. If you keep coming up against negative, 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 it is because you are insisting on looking at what's wrong, and you will not look at what's right in your life, and you want to just complain about it. If you enjoy that, keep doing it. You'll get more of it. If you want to change it, start finding anything to be grateful for and feel into that place. And your life will change. You will begin, little by little, attracting more things that you can be grateful for. But you've got to be present and accountable. No one can do this for you. God doesn't do it for you. You do it. He gave you a mind and free will. Use them, and use them appropriately. Stop running to people and saying, do it for me. Do not stay a child. Become a spiritually mature adult. Because it's only by being present that you can recognize and be grateful for all that you have. Children run to their parents and ask them to do it for them. But the natural byproduct of being a child is that you can't wait to grow up. We have to remember that as children, we couldn't wait to be independent. So we have, certainly as adults, should also claim that same independence when it comes to our spiritual understanding. You're just that powerful. All that you have is now, this moment, this point in time. Don't squander it by being elsewhere and then wonder why you feel discontent. And let me add, and do not go to someone else and ask them to do it for you and then wonder why you don't feel you've accomplished anything. You didn't accomplish anything if all you did was whine to another person until that you wore them down and they did it for you just to make you quiet. That's not an accomplishment. An accomplishment is you sit down and you say, what do I need to know to change my life? And you get busy learning those concepts and applying them. So now that you've returned your focus to your present and you've agreed to act from this moment, you must engage in a second step to effectively deal with your defense mechanisms. You must become the examiner, the observer, the curious one, who begins analyzing rather than participating in knee-jerk reactions. During this step, you must enter the realm of the heart and get serious about what you will allow from yourself. Listen to that. It's not what you will allow from others, and that is important. But what are you allowing from yourself? If you are allowing yourself to be lazy, to be sloppy, to say, I'll figure it out later, I'll work on the spiritual realm later, I'll do it later, you are not going to grow. And the only one that is responsible for you not growing would be you. If you're content being reactive and victimized, do not enter the energetic heart space. You can stay a victim. No one will take that from you. I don't know why you would want to, but it is certainly a choice. Don't go into the heart. Don't do the work to clear yourself of those limiting beliefs. Don't step into your power. Because the minute you decide that you're going to be everything you can be in this life, you're going to have to let go of the belief that you can be a victim. If you want to retake control of your life, you must become present focused and examine your go-to defense behaviors. Stop allowing someone else to yank your chain. Begin by asking yourself, how is this serving me? What do I gain from acting or reacting in this way? Does this behavior represent me, or does it make me feel small and weak? Without judging yourself for acquiring the behavior, simply observe your physical and emotional reaction when your defense mechanisms are unleashed. Does the use of them make you feel like a victim or a victor? Do you feel in control or out of control? Do you admire or pity this person? You are the person. That's a really heavy-duty question. Can you admire your behavior? Or do you feel sorry for that person? If you are having a pity party, if you are feeling lost and confused, and you're taking no action to try to clear this, I would feel sorry for you. I would not be able to admire you. If, on the other hand, you are feeling lost and confused and you are reaching out and saying, I know there are answers, I'm going to go within, I'm going to search source material, I'm going to take classes, I'm going to read books, I'm going to do my meditation, I'm going to connect with God, then I would say, I admire you. I really respect someone who understands there's a problem and does something to help themselves. I have a hard time admiring the person who says, oh, poor me, and wants everyone to feel sorry for them. And I cannot admire them because I used to be that person, and I was not admirable at that time. I didn't respect myself, and no one was able to respect me. Once you understand how your actions are making you feel, you have a choice to allow them to continue as is. If you feel great, do more of it. Do as much of it as you can. But if you don't feel good, put into place actions that do feel good. Forget about everyone else in your life. You are not here to please them. Do the things that make you feel proud, in control, and victorious. If it doesn't feel good to you, I don't care if you've got another person telling you, but that's what I want. You do the thing that feels best to you. Don't do it just to rebel. Don't because somebody said to you, well, I'd really appreciate if you didn't do this. And you get your panties in a wad and you say, well, then I'm going to do it anyway. That's not being a victor. That's not acting admirably. That's when you are acting foolishly. So what I do want you to do is say, this feels good. This feels empowering. I feel better when I act this way. And do more of that. As long as it's filled with hurt and pain, your actions will be ruled with trauma. So, sorry, I skipped a line. Because we have to understand, now it's time to do the energetic work to clear the heart space. Because as long as it's filled with hurt and pain, your actions will be ruled by trauma. It's impossible for you to react from your high place with a heart that is hurting. that has never had the opportunity to be cleared of all of the false belief systems and the difficult traumas that you may have experienced through your lifetime. And if you have experienced trauma, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. But I don't want you to allow it to define you. It's over. It's time to move on. It's time to be proud of yourself for getting through that and for taking affirmative action now. Stand up, be proud, be excited. You're amazing. Release the past. Make peace with what was and let it go. And then return to the present and create a peaceful now. No one can force anything upon you. You're always in charge. But you must return to the present moment and take control of your thoughts and actions. We all, myself included, get off into the past or start daydreaming about the future. But if you really want to experience happiness, you can only do it by being present. So when you catch yourself off in the past, daydreaming about something wonderful that may have happened that you think you can't recreate, or thinking about a trauma and recreating it in your mind so that you drag that thing back into your present, lovingly let it go. Give yourself a hug and allow yourself to realize you're worth more than that. Come back to the present. Find that spot of gratitude, that place that feels good right now, and just let go of the things that hurt you in the past. Get excited about what is coming to you, but find joy right now. Build up your momentum so it will just seem like the next natural thing when something good happens, because you're feeling so positive right now. Instead of acting reflexively or defensively, learn to act thoughtfully. Now, this is requiring a tremendous amount of commitment from you. I do understand that. But the benefit is so incredible. You can walk around your life being asleep and blaming other people. That is your right. Nobody's going to take that from you. But you will never experience real joy and happiness as long as your mind is out of control and you're being run by your mind. The minute you begin taking control of your mind and saying, I don't have to think about that. That doesn't feel good to me. I am going to actively search for those things which feel better, and I'm going to focus on those. When you start doing that, your life is going to change tremendously. By being present in every moment, you can choose the thought, emotion, and action that feels best to you. And you become a victorious being, living in the high place of love, joy, and peace. And there is no finer place to be. It is your dream life. It just feels good all the time. So, that should be your goal. Keep yourself in the high place of love, joy, and peace as often as you can. We're all going to have moments when we slip, when we get back into a place of regret or anger or rebellion. Just get out of that place as quickly as you can and return to your place of feeling good. And take a moment. What allowed me to go into this place? What pushed me into this place? What do I need to work on in myself? What do I need to strengthen so that I'm no longer able to be pushed into this place that doesn't feel good? Let me go in the heart and find what is happening there. What am I reacting to? What do I need to clear? So, let's review everything that we've learned, and then I am excited to get questions from all of you. And Prepaul, I see that your hand is raised, and I will call on you in just a minute. Just want to review what we've been through, because it is so important. We are most often defeated by our own behavior. It is hardly ever the circumstance that has come at us. It is our reaction to it that is causing the difficulty. There is 1 in a billionth chance that the circumstance is your undoing. And all of the rest of the time, it's your reaction, because you're just that powerful. Yes, the circumstance can get tough. Absolutely. But you are tougher. You already have in place everything you need to deal with the circumstance. But it will require you digging down in there and pulling it up and making use of what you have. You can always choose. No one can victimize you without your permission. Even as a young child, this was very hard for me to understand, so let me go over this just a moment. When I first began this work, first began my personal study, it really upset me that there could be places where people were living without adequate food, clean water, or that children would come in and immediately get diseases. It seemed to me very cruel and very unfair. And all I could think was, I have to do something to change this. I don't want to live in a world that is this cruel. Well, now I know that before we come, we decide where we want to go. We choose a life journey. We choose a set of parents and a family. We choose events along the way that will help us learn whatever life lessons we have decided upon. Nothing is being done to us, even when we choose to come into a place where we are hit with enormous poverty. It is because we have chosen that experience for the experience of it, not because we're being punished. Please understand that. You are not being punished. You are choosing to have that experience. Not all experiences are pleasant. Coming in with a childhood disease, I'm sure that's not pleasant either. However, it was something you decided to choose because you wanted that experience. So there is no unfairness. We can allow it to become unfair if we begin thinking, this is so unfair. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can get excited about where we are right now and say to ourselves, oh my gosh, what do I get to learn? Your life isn't out of control. You are, except when you come in with this life, when you've chosen an extreme circumstance in life. If it comes after you're already here, you are experiencing the end product of your choices. So if I choose, and we're not as a young child. As a young child, you're still under the guidance of God, and the journey, you've selected a journey that will be most beneficial to you in those early years, that because you wanted that experience. But as we grow and we become more aware, we then can be held accountable for what we're thinking. Not at the very earliest ages, but as we're more autonomous, we can become held accountable for what we're thinking. So if we wake up every morning and say, oh, I wonder what's going to happen today. I bet something awful is going to happen. And that's the way you start your day? I'd rather you go back to bed and try again. I'd rather you get up and say, what wonderful thing is going to happen today? And guess what? Even if that wonderful thing turns out to be a flat tire, I guarantee you that the person who comes to help you change your flat tire will be of benefit to you. They will have something you needed to hear. They will be a business contact, or they will further your life in some way because your attitude made it possible. If you get up saying, oh, what's going to happen today? And you go out and you find you have a flat tire, you can count on the rest of the day, and you become angry about the flat tire and negative, you can count on the rest of that day continuing to go downhill until you get control of what you're thinking and saying about what's happening. Because you will actively be calling to you more negativity so that you can make yourself right. See? I knew it was going to be a bad day. You're busy creating something so that you can prove yourself correct. But remember, when we find ourselves using defense mechanisms and defensive behavior, the only one we're defending ourselves from is ourselves, because we created the problem. Nothing to fear. You are safe. Now, really, really important, and this is across the board. Yes, we're talking about defense mechanisms today, but across the board, if you spend more time being present, being in the now, you will vastly improve your life, no matter what circumstance you're trying to correct. Everything gets better when you are present and grateful for this moment. If you're having a defensive reaction to it, it's because you're remembering or reliving an event from the past. This is an absolute. If it hasn't happened, you can't react to it. And you certainly can't react to it badly. You can't defend against something that hasn't happened unless you're projecting. If you're projecting, okay, well then you're using the past to create your present bad reaction. You're saying to yourself, I was hurt before and that's not going to happen again. Okay, you were hurt before, but you're not there anymore. Get into the now. Instead of being defensive, be present. That was then. Okay, that did happen. But this is now. What can I do about now to make myself feel better? Do I really need to be afraid? Am I really in danger? Do I really have to choose that bad reaction? Or even better, if I do or say the thing I'm thinking of doing or saying, will I regret my actions or choices? If we can stop ourselves and ask that question, we will save ourselves so much heartache. Is my response appropriate? Or is it going to be nuclear fallout if I let this out of my mouth? Now, it's one thing to say, get into the present, but let's look at some practical ways to do that. First of all, use your breath. If you find that you've become triggered, deep breathing can help you. Also, doing some tapping will help you. And my favorite always is the bathroom break, where you have the privacy to breathe deeply, to tap it out, to talk to yourself if need be. Remove yourself from the situation. So whatever is said in anger or defense, just because you're not being present, cannot be taken back. It can be forgiven, but even that's not a given. But it's still out there. I've said some things that I regret in anger, and I have really dedicated my life to being much more careful because of the hurt that happened. Because once those words are out, they're out. And the hurt might continue for a very long time. So by being present and mindful, you're accomplishing two things. First, you're living in the now and you're taking charge of your life. No one can do anything to you when you're present. It's amazing that when you're really present and not dragging the past forward, it is such a head clarifying, clearing, absolutely phenomenal way to live your life. You're in charge. And you're bringing your best self with you. You're not dragging that old pain body forward. You become the victor because you're present. And I got to tell you, most people are not. So if you're the only one that's present in the room, you're going to be the one that rises to the top in any discussion, whether you are planning on it or not, just because you're going to be able to stay in that high place and offer those solutions and those peaceful ways of dealing with things that make people feel so good. And you're going to be the one that is not afraid, because being present conquers fear. Most fear comes from the what ifs, hardly ever from what is. The 1 in a billionth time it's coming from the what is, I guarantee you'll be able to just do what you need to do. But all those other times when it's coming from what ifs, you're just making yourself crazy for no reason. But being present isn't just going to happen. You are going to have to practice the discipline. I know that's a dirty word. Nobody likes to hear it, but it's the truth. You're going to have to train your mind that you're in charge. Otherwise, it's going to run away with you. You're going to have to practice. You're going to have to cut down on distractions. You're going to have to make it a daily habit until it becomes your natural way of being. It's going to take at least 21 days of absolute practice, of being dedicated to whatever practice you choose to engage in, before it will feel like a habit instead of something you're just trying out. So whenever I try to start something new, I tell myself it's going to be 21 days before the newness will wear off and this will just feel normal. So forget the 21, go for 30, and then I know I'm sort of in a groove or a rhythm, and it will be easier to adopt this practice going forward. It won't feel like work. It will just be the next thing to do. And I have found that so much easier. I don't fight against myself. I'm just like, okay, look at this. Hooray for me. I'm on day 2 of 30. I'm on day 10 of 30. I'm on day 28 of 30. Look at me. Look at all that I've accomplished. And if you have a day where it runs away from you for some reason, you just the next day get up and say, oh, I'm back on track today. Let's see how much I can get accomplished in disciplining my mind. Don't go back to yesterday. Oh, look at me. I'm so bad. Just a way to talk yourself out of continuing. And that works for anything you're trying to change, any habit. And also, being present enables you to be grateful. When I am back in the past complaining or remembering something that someone did to me that was hurtful, I'm not grateful. I didn't enjoy being hurt. I'm not enjoying remembering, and I have no business doing it. I need to get present now and get delighted about everything that's happening that feels good right now. In the present, you must also learn to observe and analyze yourself in the circumstance. What's going on? Do I need to react to it? How can I react positively? How can I deflect any anger if somebody is really building up a head of steam? How can I help them see that this is an inappropriate reaction? You might not be able to. Walk away. A knee-jerk reaction, a defense mechanism, is just lazy. Being present, really being able to look at the way you're reacting instead of just reacting, that is a disciplined mind that is really going to honor you throughout. So clear out those thoughts, memories, and beliefs that are causing you to act offensively. If your heart is filled with pain and hurt, your reactions will always include that past trauma. We can't think about something that hurt us and not react to it. So we have to change what we're thinking about. Let go of that past pain. Return to the present and find peace. Find love. Find joy. And my dear Preetpal, thank you for being so patient. What would you like to share? I can't hear you, honey. Preetpal? I can't hear him. Okay, *2 if anyone has anything that they would like to share with us about defense mechanisms. Let me just get a sip of water. The thing that I want you to take away from today is that no one can do anything to you. Oh, and here's Preetpal. Hooray. Hi, honey. What would you like to share? You're not
Hello?
muted. There you are. We had you for a second, Preetpal. Try it again.
Hey, hey, Marcia.
Hi, honey. What would you like to share?
I was curious about something, but it's going to be too long-winded, so I'll just share what I gathered, insight that I gathered while listening to you talk. So, the insight is, if someone says harsh words to you or does something to you, what I like to implement is not only giving them a blank slate. So next, or if you can, give them a blank slate, but giving them a love slate, meaning embedding the next interaction or even that same interaction, with seeing them of the high service to you, seeing them as a love being, another being of love. You're another, just imbuing that interaction with love, no matter what they're doing or saying to you. So give them a love slate during the next interaction, or if you can, within the same interaction.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That is so perfect. Thank you for bringing that up, too. That should have been included, absolutely. Because not everyone that you're going to interact with or that you're going to have to live with on a daily basis is in a high place or even on a spiritual path. So those of us who are awake and actually doing the work can help those who are still sleeping by being the more loving as often as you can. Now, there are going to be times when they get you, and I get it. So no judgment, no condemnation of yourself, just, that's okay, I'll do better next time. But always, Preet Paul, thank you, that's brilliant. Always try to give love no matter what you're being given. Anybody who is giving you anything that feels unloving isn't loving themselves. Remember, they've got to come from within themselves out to you. Well, if they've got a whole garbage pile between themselves and the outside world, and their garbage pile is filled with things that says, I hate myself, I'm no good, I'm never going to be anybody, I'll never accomplish anything. Well, they may try to feel better by saying to you, oh, you're no good, you're never going to accomplish anything. Meanwhile, they probably know nothing about you, and it's just them trying to make themselves feel better. So when somebody says something not nice to you, just return love if you can. If you can't, again, bathroom break, get away from them, or say nothing, just as Preet Paul suggested. But if you can, go the extra mile and be loving even when they're not. You're going to give yourself the most magnificent life you can ever imagine, because you will actively be calling to you loving interactions by being loving even in the face of negative or hostile people. And when you constantly call forth love, you will begin entering that place where all you receive is love. And what a beautiful life that is. Wow, Preet Paul, thank you so much. And of course, everyone, remember my favorite thing is that pink and gold blanket of light. We can all share energy because we're all connected. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you just can't find any words because they're off running down the road and you just feel like, okay, anything I say, or I can't find something to say, you might just smile at them, nod your head, wrap them in a blanket, an energetic blanket of pink and gold light. It's just love. And nobody can walk away from that experience. They can choose to refuse the blanket, but they can't look at you and say, you did something mean to me if you threw a blanket of pink and gold light over them. They may not understand it. They may not be able to really receive it, but they'll feel something other than hurt and pain, and they'll know it came from their interaction with you. And so they're going to look at you like, that's a person that I can be around. They make me feel better. And that's another way that you're going to attract love back to you. So if you're really having trouble in any of your relationships, send me a message. I offer a 30-minute complimentary consultation where I help you discover what your gifts are, what your purpose is, and also at the same time, what's blocking you? What's causing you this pain? And then you get an opportunity to decide, I really like what you had to say, and I think you could help me work through this. I think you are the person that I want to work with. I help empower you and help you learn to be a better communicator, to remove yourself from a dysfunctional relationship with yourself into a harmonious relationship with yourself so that everywhere you go, you are empowered. If you don't want to do one-on-one coaching or counseling, I have many classes that can help you, and I'm adding more classes all the time. My website is marciamartinthehearthealer.com. It's spelled M-A-R-C-I-A, marciamartinthehearthealer.com. And I encourage you to go, and if you're having trouble dealing with something, you're not by yourself. Take one of the classes that may have already been taught live, so they're pre-recorded, and get the help that you need right now. Or send me an email, Marcia at Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, and ask for a consultation. You are in charge of how your life unfolds. But you do have to be proactive about it. I had to get help when I started. I was so confused and lost. I needed somebody who wasn't lost like me, who had been there and climbed out to help me get to the place where I could gain some perspective. And if that's what you need, I'm here to help you. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Preetpal, for contributing. Thank you, everyone who was on the call and just bringing your loving self and your loving energy to the call. Just by being here, you help all of us. You don't ever have to participate or feel that you need to be called out. That's not what this is about. But bring your love and help someone else just by being your loving self. So until next Wednesday, I'm sending you all my love.